What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you could have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. Wedding season is happening. Oh my goodness, how many brides and grooms are calling me, and families of brides and grooms. I talked to a grandma yesterday, and she booked me for her granddaughter's wedding. I'm so excited about that. Coming up real soon. And wedding season, I say that. Wedding season is really not a one season. Wedding season is the time when people start thinking about having a wedding the most. People get engaged on Christmas Day and on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. That's been a real popular time to have people get engaged. So shortly afterwards, they start calling up yours truly, Keys Dan, and checking out the DJLittleRock.com website and finding out more about how to have me at their weddings. Now, let's see, Valentine's Day is another day that people get engaged. So I expect a lot of phone calls and emails and a correspondence, if you will, on my various social medias to find out more about my services, DJ-wise, if you will. But we're not here for that. We're here for the podcast today. It's the What Makes You Famous podcast. And today on the program, I have Rebecca Shorten. Who's Rebecca Shorten? If you don't know, you're going to find out in the next few minutes. So stick around for that. This week's shows, as we break out of coronavirus quarantine, I have one public show that I've been doing on the weekly every Friday night over at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. The place to be. It's a video dance party karaoke jam. Yeah, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. We got a little stage set up. I got microphones. I'm wiping down the microphones after everybody uses them with my good disinfectant sanitizing wipes. So everybody, we'll keep each other reasonably safe as we get outdoors and go out to the Rab in Conway, Arkansas on Friday nights. Now, I'll be there from 7:30 to 10:30. It's shortened hours because Shorten. I have Rebecca Shorten on the program today. Shortened hours. All right. I didn't mean to do that, but I did it. I said it. But we have shortened hours due to the coronavirus because everybody has to be outside of the premises by 11 o'clock because, as everybody knows, coronavirus, COVID-19 only comes out after 11 o'clock. I don't know if that's political or if it's scientific, but it's the way things are. So over at the Rab on Friday night, we have the video dance party, karaoke jam, full bar, kitchen is open, pool tables. There's a pool tournament on Friday nights. So if you want to try to make some money while you're waiting to sing on stage, you can do so over at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. Look it up. Be there. If you're anywhere in the area, get there. And I'll be there from 7:30 to 10:30, playing the music and giving you the microphone so you can sing the songs. You're the stars of the show. All right, the star of the show today is Rebecca Shorten. I got her on the Skype, so if you're listening to the audio version of this, I encourage you to check out the video version on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/Keys Dan, or look up Keys Dan on YouTube, and you'll find 3 different YouTube channels. It's the one with the Radio What logo right next to my name. How about that? All right, let's get into it with Rebecca Shorten. Skyping Rebecca Shorten now.
Hi, Dan. How are you?
Oh, it's good. I don't quite see you yet, but I do hear you in my ears.
Yeah, my camera should be loading up. It's not a great camera, so I do apologize.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's good to see you. Rebecca Shorten. It's Keys Dan,
Yes.
What Makes You Famous podcast. Tell me, why are we talking today? This is something new. You came in out of the blue and you had some things that you needed to get off your chest. So what better way than to send them all over the planet? Let's go.
Yeah. Well, where to start? Well, my name's Becky, and I'm actually the voice for the YouTube channel Justice for Survivors 2021 project. What we do is we give a voice to survivors who may not have felt that their voice has ever been heard, and we focus on making sure that everybody knows that domestic violence has no gender. It's come off the back of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard movement, and we are trying to get the word out there as much as possible that we are here. We're here to give voices to anyone that needs to have their voices heard. And it has been a very touching and emotion-filled month, I will add.
Well, this sounds like really it's a subject matter that should be widespread, but feels so taboo because nobody wants to know that humans are getting mistreated by other humans. We're all supposed to be getting along together. We're all supposed to be loving one another, learning from each other, helping each other out. We're not supposed to be abusing each other. But Rebecca Shorten, this is something that came near and dear to your heart. Have you been abused yourself?
Well, I've had a few various situations throughout my life. I actually grew up in Northern Ireland in the 90s. So that's during the Troubles, if you know what they are.
I've seen the movies, I've seen the documentaries, and I even talked to a gentleman who is from Ireland proper, and he was talking about the Troubles. And now he's much younger. I think those were really in the 80s, the mid to late 80s into the 90s is when the Troubles was, and it was fights. Well, maybe you can explain a little further.
Yeah.
What are the Troubles?
Well, Northern Ireland is separated from Southern Ireland by a border. At the time, it was called a hard border. It was basically a wall that ran through Northern Ireland and cut off Southern Ireland and Northern Ireland because the British government have control of Northern Ireland, and they have for some time. And it was very political and very religious. So it was Protestant against Catholic. Majority of Northern Ireland's Catholic. They wanted Ireland to be joined back together, wanted it to be one country, and then you had others that wanted it to stay part of England and the UK. That's where it mainly came from. But there was a lot of other tensions built up throughout the years that just led to this intense fighting, and it's hard to describe. It's like I grew up in the back end of it, but it doesn't mean that I didn't witness things. And it's been maybe the last year to 2 years that I've realized a lot of my own personal issues are due to my childhood and the experiences that we had growing up. I thought it was normal to have soldiers walking on the street with rifles. I thought it was normal to have a school bus searched and have everything pulled out of your bag, and having a 5-year-old girl searched by an army soldier. I thought that was normal. It was, but as an adult, you sit and think, okay, that wasn't normal. How did my parents deal with this? And there's a lot of unresolved issues even now. A lot of things that happened in Northern Ireland, a lot of atrocities that happened there. Nobody's ever been held accountable for it. So
when you plan a party of any
sort, and things opening now, but the suicide rates and things for people in my age range in Northern Ireland is so high because we don't have the same mental health support as somebody that may have been there in the 70s and 80s.
It's so amazing to me how humans can transcend any diversity in their lives, and it becomes a normal. We're going through this over the last year, 2020, with the coronavirus, where wearing a mask is now considered normal. You're talking about the troubles, and even in the United States, we had our own civil war back in 1865, in the 1860s, and after that war was over, we were supposed to have reparations where the slaves were freed and then become normal citizens. Before that, they were 3/5 of a person, and now, even now, there's still racism. There's still struggles over 100 years later. So I can imagine you growing up just a few short years after the main part of the struggles, you were still feeling it. Where the Protestants and the Catholics were still against each other, where the Northern Irish and the Irish proper were struggling against coming together. In fact, they're still not together. Northern Ireland is a part of the UK, whereas Ireland proper is not. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Southern Ireland is their own country, and what makes it difficult. Growing up, where I grew up, if we wanted to go to a shopping centre, we had to cross the border into Southern Ireland, and that would involve car searches and everything, and it would be the same coming back. After the Troubles and the hard border disappeared, it was free to travel, even though it was a separate country. But then Brexit came along, and Brexit has brought a whole heap of issues because they want to put in a hard border again, which has now started to raise tensions again, which is very scary.
Well, we've had over the last 4 years, we've had a president of these United States that has been wanting to put a border wall along the southern part of the United States to keep out Mexicans, immigrants, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we're familiar with walls, and I guess China must have been the one that started it all with their Great Wall, and I think that it worked. But unfortunately or fortunately, building a wall really doesn't make any difference, because there's a thing called airplanes now, and people can get over that wall pretty easily. So why build a wall? Just to monitor.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, monitor your immigration, and get along with folks. Open borders has been something that's been thought of for a while. I watched the show. I watched Star Trek, and I see how the whole world comes together, and all these futures that we can dream about, where the whole world is maybe governed by a body of people, not just one person. Maybe a council of representatives from all over the planet. It's hard to live in a world where we know most people, I know that most people are pretty good people. Most people will help other people. It's just those few that want that power, that want to take advantage of other people and have power over them. It's called the government, I guess. If I want to put it bluntly, but. So in Northern Ireland, you are with the Brexit. You're with the UK, and so what do you think of your Irish brothers and sisters in Southern Ireland? Do you get along with them? Do you?
Yeah.
I mean, you sound like them. You look like them. Why wouldn't you get along?
Well, the main problem of it that I noticed as a child was religion. That was the big part of it, and a lot of Southern Ireland is Catholic, and where I grew up is Catholic. I'm Catholic, and the problem was that the Protestants aren't the same as us. They don't have the same beliefs as us. They don't have the same morals as us, sort of thing. But that's an attitude that has grown out, thankfully. But that was a kind of a sign of the times rather than the people.
I was born into an Irish family. I mean, I'm half Irish in blood, and I'm half Cuban in blood, but I was born into a Catholic family. But I've grown since then. I got out of the Catholic Church. I've been searching, for spiritual thoughts, and I really never knew the difference between what is a Catholic or a Protestant. They all learn from this same book of teachings. Whether you believe in the Bible, whether you believe it's spiritual divinity, it's somewhat a book of instructions. At least the New Testament has a book of morals and guidelines and things to live by. If you don't do these things, you will be smited. Maybe not by a higher power, but certainly by your government and your peers. You'll be smited if you don't stay within the moral right. But who's to decide what is the moral right? And I guess that is the struggle between North and Southern Ireland, and people all over the world. There's been people in fighting for thousands of years, having a war for I could imagine a war for 1 year, but being in a battle with somebody for even a day, but to be in a war for over 1,000 years, generation after generation. Tell me when the struggles started. I know I'm kind of rambling a little bit because I have thoughts in my head about these things that you're talking about, and you're really making me reflect. But has Northern and Southern Ireland always been fighting over religious beliefs or other things?
I'm not too sure on that because I've only really experienced the reality of it as I lived there, because I'm now in England and I've been here since I was 13.
Oh, what part of England?
So I'm in the northeast of the UK, a place called Teesside.
Is that a small town or a big town?
It's a cluster of fairly big towns all together, and it creates one place that's called Teesside.
So what was that like, moving from Ireland to northern England? Is it different? I know that the accents are slightly different. Similar to if we were somebody from New York and somebody from Alabama here in the United States. If I can relate it to myself, the accents are a little bit different. But the accent in Ireland to England, for us, for somebody who doesn't have a discernible ear, it might be similar, but I know it's got to be different. So just having a different accent and being a different kind of person at 13 years old, moving away from everything you knew, what did you experience?
It wasn't just the accent, though. When the biggest difference that I noticed was to do with school, because where I went to school, it was boys' school, girls' school, no in between. They didn't share. Boys were separate from the girls. It was always that way. You were taught by nuns and you were taught by priests. You weren't taught by anybody else. So moving to England, it was a mixed school. There was boys and girls. There were Muslim teachers. There were Indian teachers. There were British teachers. There were Irish teachers. It was like an enormous culture shock, because where I come from is very small. There was only a small population of about 15,000 when I left, but it's grown a bit since then. But I moved to a place called Lincoln in Lincolnshire, and that's very big. So it was a massive culture shock more than anything. The school did put me into dialect classes because they couldn't understand me. Where I come from in Ireland, we talk quite fast and have quite a strong Irish accent. So, for example, now I would say, how now brown cow, but back then it would be how now brown cow. It's like, this is my hair, this is my hair.
My hair.
Yeah, it's my hair.
You could be a dialect coach for someone in the movies. I'm sure actors would pay top dollar for Rebecca Shorten to teach them how to speak the Irish way.
I only have the Irish accent when I get drunk or I'm around my sister. It's the only time the strong Irish accent comes out. Otherwise,
it's very rare. It's very rare, I'm sure. She never drinks. She hardly. Okay, that's none of my business. Oh, she's got a little drinky drink right there as we speak. Hey, you're being Irish stereotypical. You're being Irish stereotypical there. If you have any kind of a drink in your hand, that's what we think of. Over here in the States, is the Irish are drunk and they fight. In fact, there's professional teams that are built on Irish fighters.
Yes.
So I mean, what? Okay, so you got out of Ireland, which was primarily one type of person, Northern Ireland, Protestant. Oh no, you say Catholic?
I'm Catholic, yeah.
But okay, so the Northern Ireland was the Catholic, and the Southern Ireland is the Protestants.
No, Southern Ireland is Catholic, I grew up in one of the parts of Ireland that wanted to stay with Southern Ireland, so we were a Catholic community.
Well, that had to be a struggle
But
in itself. What did your
yeah,
parents go through? Did they give you any stories about the times that they went through being a Catholic family in the middle of a Protestant area, where that makes some kind of a difference?
well, my mother and father met when my dad was stationed in Ireland as a member of the British Army, and that didn't go down very well in my family. My mum's mother disowned her. Um, my mum found out she was pregnant, and my granddad went completely crazy and forced them to get married because they weren't having a child out of wedlock. He could deal with a Protestant son-in-law, but not a child out of wedlock. So they were forced to get married. And then after they got married, my grandparents didn't speak to them for about 15 years.
But it was on them. It was on them that they got. Well, okay, I understand the morality of that, and people really feel strongly about people that having a child out of wedlock. It's got its own connotations in itself. It could be a hanging offense in certain places to have a child out of wedlock. My goodness, and it must have been immaculate because people don't have sex out of wedlock. No,
no, not at all, not at all. You can get pregnant by holding hands. Did you know that? That's what we were told when we were younger and going to discos, which had boys at as well. If you hold their hands or sit on the knee, you can get pregnant.
I went to a Catholic church, and I think those teachings were very similar. I got taught sex education by a Catholic priest. Just that sentence alone, sex education by a Catholic priest. I thought you were married to God, or you were not allowed to partake. How are you going to teach me how to or not to touch myself? And so many struggles back then. As a wee lad.
We got a sex talk on our first day of secondary school, so that would be, I think, your high school age, because we've got like primary school, secondary school, university. So it's slightly different. But the first day of our secondary education, we were sat down in a classroom by this nun. And she's like, I need to talk to you about sex. And we're like, oh, come on, give us the juicy details. She went, you're married to God until you are married to a man. No sex. And that was all of our sex education.
And I'm sure there were fingers pointed at the time as well, with a stern look. And I remember that they separated the boys and they separated the girls, and we always wondered, what are the girls doing? What are they learning? If we're learning this, what are they learning? And the reason that they teach sex education in secondary school is to teach the kids what they've been doing wrong for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But hey, the struggles of life, the struggles of people in general, that's one thing that we come across. But all right, I'm trying to look for the Justice for Survivors 2021 YouTube page. Tell me, what is that YouTube page, and are there any other pages devoted to that?
It's, I think, because it was actually one of my colleagues that set the page up, that she called it A Voice for Survivors. Let me just double check it. It should have been changed by now. But I'll explain to you what's kind of led me to my position doing this. Because I had that type of background in Northern Ireland, I didn't have much experience with men. I had a toxic view of marriages because of the way that marriages work. You don't get divorced when you're Catholic.
Nope.
So seeing these relationships and families around me where the husband and wife are constantly fighting, he's constantly drunk and all that sort of thing, was a normal thing, as sad as that was. And that kind of set me up to have a bit of a bad time with relationships. And I was set up to fail in that aspect. And it wasn't until probably the age of 30, that I'm 34 now. It was about the age of 30 that I actually got out of that cycle of abuse and freed myself from it and realized, no, I'm better than this. And since then, I've been flourishing and doing amazing and helping other people. But unfortunately, survivors don't get a platform to speak very often.
Well, Rebecca Shorten, was there some catalyst that helped you to get out of this relationship that was toxic? Was there someone, a friend, or an institution, organization that helped you when you were 30?
Yeah, there were quite a few places that helped. The main thing that kind of gave me the boot up the bum. I've got multiple sclerosis. I was diagnosed with it when I was 24, and I lost my granddad to it a few years ago. And I thought, I'm not going to waste my life being controlled and being unhappy, and I need to take ownership of my own life. And that kind of freed me from it a little bit. But I had a lot of support from places like Women's Aid here in the UK. They're also called Harbour. And there's plenty of resources in America as well. I've been speaking with a few people over there for different organisations. And the thing is that women have all of this support. And my current husband, he's actually a victim of abuse as well. But because he's a man, he doesn't have a voice, because men can't be an abuse victim. So I've become the voice for my husband.
Yeah, men have to take it. Men have to toughen up. My grandfather, my dad was out of the picture, when I was very young, but my grandfather, toughen up, get out there, swift kick in the pants. What do you mean somebody's bullying you? You bully them right back. I don't care if he's bigger than you. I don't care if he's got more friends than you that are going to beat you up every day. Yes, a man needs to toughen up. And women, we try to be gentle with them, the fairer sex, the weaker sex, quote unquote. No, but Rebecca Shorten, you're giving me gems here. These are, you're telling people that there are places that can help, and I'm glad that you got out of that toxic situation. And you've already alluded to you're in a new relationship where someone is more loving. I see a smile that came across your face as I said that. So when you're thinking about him, hey, things are good, and I'm glad that you found that joy and that happiness after all.
He's amazing.
After all the struggles and the torment that you had. Now I did find that page on YouTube, and what I want before I read the description on the YouTube page, you said that you've been diagnosed with MS. Let the people know in general, what is MS, multiple sclerosis, and then how is it presenting in you?
Multiple sclerosis presents. Generally, you don't realize you've got it until you've had it for a while, because it affects your muscles, your control, basically your whole body, the way your whole body functions. I've got a form called relapsing and remittent MS, which means that it comes and it goes. So I can go to bed tonight walking, but I can wake up tomorrow morning and my legs will stop working for maybe a couple of hours, or last time it happened 2 years. And then I'll go to sleep one night and I'll wake up and all of a sudden that thing that wasn't working is all of a sudden working again. But unfortunately it does progress over time, and I've noticed it a lot more the last few years, especially with not having as much therapy because of COVID.
Well, that's leading me to believe you got it when you were 24. I'm not sure how severe it was back then, but as it progresses, you become more and more dependent on people, and you were dependent on an abusive, I guess allegedly abusive husband. According to you, he was, and you were.
There's plenty of court documents to
well,
back
there you
that
go.
up.
So I'll say he was an abusive husband,
Yeah.
and you were still dependent on him because you had these ailments that kept you from being able to walk. So you were depending on him for, food, sustenance, the ability to live, have a roof over your head. And it's tough to get out of a situation. For some women, it's tough for them to get out of a situation if they're quote unquote healthy. They have a body that's strong. Yes. Oh, he slapped me across the face, but it was my fault. I did that. Oh, it was all me. And if you're not sensing the sarcasm in my voice that I'm laying on very thick, no, it's never your fault. I have never, ever, ever hit a woman that didn't deserve it. No, I've never hit a woman ever. I've had women hit me, and I've had women have, give me a thought in my head. I should strike this girl because she is making me so mad. But I've never done it.
Yeah.
Never done it. You don't need to hit a woman ever. Men?
I've found myself, women can be just as bad as men, but people don't want to portray that, and that's unfair. It needs to be even on both sides. Each year, there's just as many men killed at the hands of their female partner as there is women killed by the hands of their male partner. And the numbers are very similar in same-sex relationships as well. But you don't hear that about same-sex relationships and about men. You only hear it about women. And it's not fair.
I've never heard these statistics at all. I mean, do you have any statistics of how many people in all these different relationships are getting abused? And I'm thankful. While you're looking that up, I'll read the description on the A Voice for Survivors 2021 project, and I see there's it's a channel dedicated to in addressing Amber Heard. Hashtag Amber Heard directly as a survivor of abuse. Each video will be dedicated a dedicated direct letter to a number of people within the inner Heard circle, as well as to show our support to other survivors who want the world to know. Now, how did you get involved with Amber Heard? And does she? I haven't looked at any of the videos. Does she get involved with this, or the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation?
Well, the situation regarding Amber Heard and Johnny Depp is a very delicate one, and it's split a community basically. There's so many legal documents and so many audio tapes and videos and images of the abuse that Amber gave towards Johnny, but unfortunately, in the UK, where they've just recently had the trial for defamation, the wife beater defamation lawsuit against the son, the judge in that case found Johnny to be a wife beater. But his reasons for that were because Johnny used drugs.
So what is it?
And that's not right.
Yeah, what is it as you hear? Because the man lost his job, his livelihood, because of this. I hope that if he does need help, that he's getting help. But tell more. What is the situation?
There's a massive community of survivors that are on Johnny Depp's side, because we've literally scoured every single legal document that has been publicly available since 2016. We've heard all of the audio recordings, the depositions where Amber admits being the abuser. But nobody is taking notice of that, because Amber's the face of the Me Too movement. And we've kind of, especially in the UK, the ruling against Johnny in the UK has set a very dangerous precedent going forward for male victims of abuse, because that judge has said in a high court that Johnny Depp is an abuser because he uses drugs. Now, a lot of victims of abuse will turn to drugs to cope with that situation. So with that judge using that ruling, it can then be used as a precedent in other cases, saying, well, that victim used drugs, so she must be the abuser.
Yeah,
it's
what kind of
very dangerous legal precedent in the UK.
Yeah, what kind of drugs? I took acetaminophen earlier because I had a pain in my head. But what kind of drugs, and how would they affect him in such a way to where he's going to be abusing Miss Amber Heard? And so it turns out that there's some evidence that she was the one abusing him.
Yeah, well, there's actually a court case happening this year in Fairfax, Virginia. Johnny is suing Amber for defamation for her op-ed where she's talked about her abuse with Johnny. And through that case, there's been hundreds and actually thousands of pages of legal documents and depositions. And there's a massive community of people that have sat and read through these thousands of pages, me included. I've read every single page of it. There's so many contradictions and provable lies within Amber's statements that too many independent witnesses can say that is not the case. And unfortunately, in the UK, the judge dismissed police evidence, independent witnesses, and even photographic evidence from the hospital. And that's not right. And it's actually in the Court of Appeals at the moment, and it's looking like it will go back to trial because the judgment is completely crazy. But in the American trial, Amber's being called out on all of these lies. And of course, I need to say as well, this is my own opinion, of course. And it is very, very hard because, yes, Amber may have dealt with abuse in the past, but she's standing up for the voice of the Me Too movement, saying this thing happened to me. But there's so much evidence that it didn't, that if that comes out with her as the face of the Me Too movement, it's going to make reporting this sort of stuff hard because people are not going to believe us. It's hard enough to get people to believe us now, but having a superstar like Amber Heard lie about it and get away with it in one country only to be held for perjury in Australia, which she's currently being investigated for, she's going to be held accountable in the US by the looks of things, but that's going to make it look bad on the rest of our community.
Could you imagine Rebecca Shorten being these people or fighting for your life all over the world, fighting in different court battles all over the world? Now, you were saying abuse. It presents itself in many different ways. Was it physical abuse? Was it verbal abuse? Was it a combination of all of that? Was it, taking away someone's food or their possessions? How is the abuse being presented in these court cases?
Amber is basically saying that Johnny would attack her, would throw things at her, throw her on the floor, slap her, headbutt her. He would destroy things within the house. And there was never any evidence as such to back that up, apart from photos which can't actually be dated to any time. It's like the day that she went to go and get her original temporary restraining order, she was seen outside of the court wearing a black dress with a big bruise on her face. But the day before that, she was seen and photographed outside her lawyer's office, sorting out the paperwork for this, laughing and smiling with her sister with no makeup on her face and no marks. But yet she's saying that Johnny threw a phone at her face. And the pictures are disturbing. If you, as a victim of abuse, seeing photos like that, it's horrible to see. But the time frame, she's saying these things happen, but there's so many independent witnesses saying, well, I saw her on this day and she had no marks. I saw her on this day and she had no marks. And the only people that she has on her side saying, yes, this happened, are her friends. Whereas on Johnny's side, he's got the staff from the building they lived in, staff members that worked for Amber, staff members that worked for him, staff members that worked for different companies but worked with them, all independent of him. And the UK court just went, no, not taking notice of that.
It
makes no sense.
It's a difficult fight to be sure, and it's something that the court is going to have to decide. But the court of public opinion, it seems like there's already a team Johnny and a team Amber. I'm guessing the T-shirts and the merchandise has already been made up and is out there, and there's people outside of these various courthouses, representing each. Is that something that you've seen?
Yes. Can I give a little shout out actually to somebody? Stevie J Raw on YouTube. He is a very well spoken, very ardent defender of Johnny Depp, and he's amazing. He did a charity stream at Christmas to raise money for Great Ormond Street Hospital, and he's raised over 20,000 Australian dollars. And he's done that by selling T-shirts and things saying "not a bot." And that came from Amber Heard saying that every person that supports Johnny on the internet is a paid Russian bot. So I am a Russian bot. Hi.
Hello, Russian bot. That's Rebecca Shorten. Now, I noticed that the Voice for Survivors 2021 project on YouTube, let me say that properly so people can understand, a Voice for Survivors 2021 project on YouTube is really a brand new webpage. It's only about 3 weeks old. You already have 810 survivors, so that means that you've been not only promoting this, but it's also something that is near and dear and to people's hearts. No one deserves to be abused. My dear listeners, if you're listening, if you're watching this on YouTube, no one deserves to be abused. No. If you get hit, that's it. Walk away. Hey, there, I just rhymed. If you get hit, that's it.
Yes.
Get out.
That should be a slogan.
I just made it up. It's in the world.
That should be a slogan.
If you get hit, that's it. Out. I was a boxer for a little while back in the 90s, and I used to get hit in the face, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. And I was doing it, because I wanted to do it. No one should get hit, really. I mean, unless you're doing it as a profession for a living. But, you were talking about, Amber Heard coming in with bruises. And these people are actors. They have access to all those makeup tricks and makeup ideas. So it could have happened that way. I mean, but that's not for me or you to decide. It's definitely for courts. And not just in one country, not just in the U.S. Or in the U.K. And then you also say in Australia that they're battling as well. Is that because of the... I guess they filmed the Pirates of the Caribbean. I know he lost that job for the next installment because of this. I have very broad strokes on what's going on, and I'm glad that you're painting the picture a little bit better and kind of filling in some of the details that I do not have, Rebecca Shorten. But go ahead, go on, continue.
Well, I'll explain the Australia situation. So in 2015, Johnny and Amber went to Australia and brought their dogs with them. Do you remember that? Pistol and Boo. They're 2 Yorkshire Terriers, and they got in a lot of trouble from the Australian government for doing that because they didn't have the correct papers. Do you remember that situation?
I do not remember that situation. But for a pair of dogs, all you need is a newspaper to put underneath them. Okay, that's the papers you need. So when they make their business, you can clean it up right away. No, but you were I jest. But you said that they didn't have papers and they got into a legal problem.
Yeah. Well, Amber admitted to bringing the dogs into the country illegally and got a slap on the wrist. But in the process of that, she gave a statement that she knew nothing about any of it. And apparently it was Johnny's team that were meant to deal with it. However, in the process of the UK trial and the discovery for the US trial, there's actually been emails that have come out between Amber and her team about the dogs saying, can you grease a couple of vets to get them in? And the Australian government have now seen this and they are investigating her for perjury. She can face up to 5 years in prison for it.
In this day and age, there's a camera everywhere. There's a microphone everywhere. There are people doing checks and balances everywhere. Whatever you do, whatever you write down, it's going to come out. It's, if you say something, it's going to be recorded. Hey, we're saying stuff right now, and it's being recorded. Although it's of our own volition, we want this recorded, so perhaps it can help someone else out into the world. Yeah. But
I've got those statistics for you.
Please do.
By the way, if you want them.
Numbers.
So, 2.5% of men were victims of partner abuse in 2018 and 2019, which equates to a ratio of 2 female victims to every 1 male victim. In 2017 to 2018, 11% of male victims have considered taking their own life due to partner abuse. In 2017 to 2018, nearly half of male victims fail to tell anybody that they're a victim of domestic abuse. And they're nearly 3 times less likely to tell anyone than a female victim. And it's worsened since 2015 and 2016. In 2018, 2019, there were 16 men killed at the hands of their current or ex-partner in the UK alone, and 18 women. And in terms, this is the statistic that upsets me. And this is just for the UK. I don't know about anywhere else, but in the UK it's even bad. In terms of refuges and safe houses, there are currently 37 organisations with only 204 spaces, but only 40 of those spaces are dedicated to men.
But, well, with the statistic that you're giving, it's the abuse reported, and I'm going to say reported, is 2 to 1. Because as a man, I know, and as other heterosexual men that I've dealt with, I haven't dealt with a lot of the insides of a homosexual relationship, but in my own
I have. It's fun.
Oh, well then, perfect.
Yeah.
What is it? If you're bisexual and you're still alone, then I guess you're by yourself. No.
I've never heard that one before.
I think that was a meme, but really, you have your choice of anyone in the world. But all I can do is speak as a heterosexual male who's only been in that situation. I've been hit by girls, but I've never reported it. The only time I really did report it was because the girl came to a party that I was at, and she hit me several times in front of my friends. Did I hit her back? No. I just sat and I took it. And there's no reporting it. There's no, she hit me. It hurt, but it's going to brush off. Man up, my grandfather would say.
There's no shame in reporting it. Male or female, there's no shame in reporting it. Even if you're a big purple dinosaur, there's no shame in reporting it. You reporting that somebody has hurt you does not make you a weaker person. It makes you a stronger person.
But she's 5'3".
And trust me, I know that.
She's 5'3". I'm 6 foot tall, and she's beating me up. She weighs 98 pounds, soaking wet. I'm close to 300 pounds, and she's hitting me. Am I going to report that? I'm not. I'm not going to report that. But you're telling me that you should. You should. You should,
because that behavior will only continue in further relationships. And if she thinks that's okay to do to you in front of a room full of people, what is she willing to do behind closed doors? 5'4" may be a small stature, but it doesn't mean that they don't have the ability to mess with your head. This is the thing that I've noticed personally from abuse, that female victims are more likely to be physically hurt, but male victims are more likely to be mentally damaged, like with psychological abuse, emotional abuse. It's hard to explain. It's like, the whole I'm a like woman that needs help, bat my eyes and can get whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
It's that mentality these days, but women use that to their advantage in the wrong way, unfortunately. And I'm not saying all women, by no means all women, but women are more capable of the mental and psychological abuse than men, although men are very, very capable of doing it. I have had it done to me. But that's where most abuse comes from women. But even that is not okay. If you have somebody that is dragging you down, telling you that you're not worth anything, that nobody's ever going to love you, nobody's ever going to treat you nicer than they are and make you feel like you're less of a person, that is abuse. That's not how a relationship should be. A relationship should be equal on both sides. And that is not a relationship. And if you want to get out of that situation, and you can, and it carries on, then the only way forward for people is to report it. But the point is, it should be reported in the first place. If they've affected you to the point where you're having it, then you need to report it.
Well, you're
because it
making
will just continue. It'll. Sorry, go ahead.
no, no worries. Yeah, you're making me think big picture. Yes, if that same smaller woman is willing to beat up on a bigger gentleman, who knows? Maybe she'll, if she has children, she may abuse them as well. And therapy might be the way to go. But what are your ways to deal with this? Is it therapy? Is it always
Well,
incarceration? Or what are the ways to deal with someone who is abusive?
well, from my own situation, how I dealt with it, because my ex was abusive to the point that he didn't realize he had issues himself, mental health issues himself, which male mental health issues are taboo anyway. Men shouldn't be depressed. Men should be doing this and protecting their family, all that sort of thing. And he didn't get help for his stuff, so his behavior got worse, and everybody around him became his victims. And going to prison, I believe, actually made him worse, because putting him in that situation, he met new people, he got new connections with other criminals, and he's come out of that situation with contacts and new ways to threaten. And only a few weeks ago, I got a phone call saying, I'm going to send somebody to your house that I met in prison, and they were in there for doing this. It gives them another platform, whereas rehabilitation in the community, I think, is a better way forward, but it's not how courts see it. But that's my own personal opinion.
Well, Rebecca Shorten, you're just letting me know that you not only got out of the situation, there was legal action, and he actually went through some court. How did that come about? Did you have to file with the police department or with the courts to have action taken? And did you feel that was the only way to get out of this situation? There was no other place to run where he could not find you?
Yeah, I had to actually ring the police to remove me from the home, because I wasn't physically able, and it just got too much. I used to get physically hurt. I used to be sexually abused. I was emotionally dragged down to think that nobody would ever love me with my conditions, that nobody would ever believe anything I said because I have mental health problems. I was led to believe that I was just worth nothing, and I was just lucky to be with that person and in their presence. And it got to the point where he'd actually broken bones, and I wasn't getting the help for those broken bones. I ended up bringing the police. He got arrested, held on remand, which in the UK is similar to being held without bond in the US. So he wasn't allowed out of the prison. He wasn't bailed out or anything like that until trial. And then he got found guilty at trial and given a 4-year prison sentence. And that 4-year prison sentence, he only does half. So he did half of that, and that's it.
So
That's all he got.
it was one time reporting, one time sent to jail, one time. So all it took was that one time, because I've heard of so many situations where a woman will report and kept blown off.
Yeah.
You take care of it yourself, and then it takes until a broken bone comes about before any action gets taken. So were there many reports, or was it just that one report?
With that person, it was just the one report, and because of the severity of what had happened, there was no really him getting away from it, because I was battered and bruised, and I've still got scars all over me from it. But the person I was with before, because like I mentioned, I had a string of abusive relationships. I had rang the police on him, I think 38 times before they took any action.
So it wasn't just one time. You were getting
No.
blown off. No, it's fine. Work it all amongst yourselves. What were their reasonings for not taking action those 37 out of 38 times?
A lot of it was to do with not enough evidence. This was back in 2008, and thankfully a lot's changed since then. But at the time, he was very good at hiding his tracks. I was in the start of my MS, which I wasn't aware of, so I was falling a lot, and he used that to his advantage. Like, any bruises left on me, oh, she fell over, and things like that. But they couldn't dismiss this phone call, because on the 38th phone call, I was being held against the wall by my neck, and they were on the phone, and they could hear me screaming for help. And when the police came, my nose was bloody and all over my face. So they had to take notice of it then. But they did take into account, at the time, all of the times I'd called before. So he was held accountable for all those times before. And since then, it has got a lot better in the process of reporting these things as well. You're taken a lot more seriously now than back in as early as 2008.
Oh,
so there's been big strides.
Rebecca Shorten, these are lines in a movie. I didn't hit her, she fell down. But in your case, you actually did fall down some of those times and maybe cause a little bit of injury. So I could see that being used at his advantage. And I'm glad that it did. Well, it had to come to a full head. He had to actually break bones before the police listened to you, before the authorities listened to you. And I'm so sad that had to be the way that it happened. But, that's all in the past, and I'm glad that it's been resolved. No more contact from him since he got out of jail at all? Okay. And the new fella, I mean, that's great that you found someone to make you happy he's
amazing.
To do all the things that you need. And you said that he was abused as well. If you can divulge some of his story. I don't want you to have to tell his story. That's his story to tell.
No, I'm being a voice for him in a way, because he's not ready to speak himself just yet. And that's kind of where I came into being a voice for people. And he was in a very long relationship with his ex-partner, and she was very abusive. She was very manipulating, and she controlled everything from money to phone access. She would beat him up in front of people. There's loads of witnesses, and nothing was ever done. They had a child, and when he was a few years old, he developed a brain condition and ended up in hospital for a few months, close to death at points. And they lived at the hospital in that time as well. So there was a lot of emotion happening, a lot going on. And when they finally got their son back from hospital, she decided to pack up her things and leave while he was out walking the dog. And with everything that had gone on, it had obviously upset him, so he went round to her mother's house, where he found her with another man, with their son. And he had a bit of I don't know how to put it without it sounding bad, but he had a bit of a breakdown, and he got angry, and he kicked a door, and he broke a wing mirror off a car, and he got shown to be the abuser in the situation, basically. And she was a head teacher of a school. She was a professional, and he wasn't. And he got held accountable for that, but she never got held accountable for the things that she did to him. And that's all come out in court proceedings for custody, during custody arrangements and things. 2 seconds, calm down.
Well,
I'll explain the animals shortly as well.
Oh, no problem.
Spudge.
Well, I mean,
Spudge.
in domestic cases, the response had to be expected, that he would, kick a door, maybe hit a car, hit an inanimate object, not a person, because that's an abusive person would hit someone else, another person, but someone who's just angry might pick up a baseball bat and hit a pillow at the least, but there had to be some response expected. But unfortunately, circumstances, timing is one thing, where he went to her place rather than she came to him. He went looking for her. So the courts are going to see it that way. And I'm guessing that's how he got into some kind of trouble in that particular moment.
He did. And he he got held accountable for getting angry and kicking a door and kicking a wing mirror. But at the same time, she accused him of a lot of things that weren't true, and he got painted to be this big, horrible monster. But he's not that person, and that's all coming out now in the custody battle between him and his ex, trying to get custody of his child. And it's about time that it actually came out, and she's now starting to be held accountable for her actions. They're looking into parental alienation and all sorts with her, because she's toxic and horrible. But they took her so seriously for so long because she was in a well-regarded profession. She was a head teacher of a school. So that's another barrier that needs to be brought down in domestic abuse cases as well. Just because somebody's doing well for themselves doesn't make them better than somebody that is a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah, Rebecca Shorten. She's a fine, upstanding member of society. She's contributing to society. She's going to be held in higher standards, in higher respects, so she can get away with a lot of things. This is what people in power do. You hear about the government. You hear about religious leaders getting into these situations and not being held accountable. We're both from Catholic upbringing, and the Catholic Church is, not to single them out, but I will, has had their own problems where a priest was accused here in this city. So instead of excommunicating him or stopping him from being in the priesthood, they send that priest to a whole nother city, and he didn't lose his job at all. Really, nothing major happened. He might have gone to a better place, a better city than what he was at.
I've actually got a bit of a sad story from Northern Ireland. Actually, the priest that was the head of our church over there, he abused a young child, and they didn't do anything about it. They just moved him to a different area. But in that different area, he got caught having sex with a nun on the altar, and that was enough to get him excommunicated.
Oh, that got it. Oh, that was the... My goodness. That did it. That was the final straw.
Not abusing a child. It was the having sex with a nun on an altar.
Oh, my goodness. She was married to Jesus, of course. No, you could not do that. On the altar, of all places.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a sacred place.
Yes. Oh, my. All right. We've talked a lot about a lot of things. People need to get help when they're in abusive situations, whatever kind of abuse, verbal, physical, in particular, for sure. If you're getting hit, that's it. I think that's the hashtag for this podcast is, if you get hit, that's it.
Yes.
Get out. So what's your suggestion? If someone's in an abusive situation, can they contact you directly, or do you have places for them to go, not just in the UK, but I know that you're primarily located in the UK, and that's where your webpage is. But, it's worldwide. With this podcast, with this internet, we can use it for good. Where do you want to send the people that are being abused, men and women?
Well, this is actually what I wanted to get this out for. It's like we started the project to address the Amber Heard Johnny Depp situation, and we had people come to us with their stories saying, "Can you speak for us?" So it's kind of now sidetracked to addressing that situation, but also giving other people a platform. So sometimes they'll write a letter to their abuser. Sometimes they'll write a letter to a friend that they didn't ask for help, and then that friend felt upset. And there's also one that at some point is actually quite close to me. It's one of my friends. Her mother was killed at the hands of her mother's boyfriend, and she wants to write a letter to him saying, "You may have killed my mum, but you haven't destroyed my life." And they may not have the strength to say these things themselves. So I'm giving them the strength by being their voice. And we've been working very closely with a lot of people the last few weeks. After our first 2 videos, we had so many people come forward that we kind of put the videos on hold, and we gave support to those that came to us. And we've changed the path going that way, so people can come to us to share their stories of survival or how they got from a situation, or to address a person. And the floor is open to them, and we'll work with them closely to make sure that what we say is what they feel. And I think we're doing quite well with that. We've got some new videos coming up on that, on like those stories. But at the same time, we are offering a way for people to get help. We are known out there as a Justice for Johnny Depp movement. So if somebody saw our Twitter page, they would see it's Justice for Johnny Depp. It's nothing major. But we've said to people, our inbox is open at all times. Contact us, and if it is safe to do so at the time, we'll speak with you and we'll find out where we can get you help in your area and where you can go, and we'll advise and we'll support as much as we can to get them that help. And at least that way their abuser isn't going to see Women's Aid or Harbour Domestic Support in their feed. They'll see something else, and it won't automatically be a red flag for the abuser. So we're giving them a way to come forward with that as well.
Well, Rebecca Shorten, you've had over 26,000 hits on your YouTube page in the short 3 weeks that you've had this page out. That means that the subject matter is near and dear. People are interested in hearing this, hearing what you have to say, and it's a way to open that door to other situations. Yes, the Johnny Depp Amber Heard, that's the celebrity of it. That gives you a way in to other people that are experiencing similar situations. I commend you for that. Now, there is a Twitter that's attached to that YouTube, and it says Justice for Serve 4. The account doesn't exist. So I think that needs to be changed.
It does currently exist. It's just being edited at the moment, so it's been taken down while we update some information on there. It's going to be back up live with our new video, which will hopefully be out in the next 2 to 3 days.
Very good. Who's helping you to produce these videos? You're one of the people that started this page, or you say that other people started that page as well?
Well, there's actually 8 of us that started it, and for the most part, they need to remain anonymous because of their jobs and things like that, especially with the things that we're saying. Because I've always said, if I say something about Amber Heard, she can come for me. She's got nothing that she can take. Mm-hmm. But these other people do. They've got jobs and careers that they need to look after. So that's why I've become the voice. But then since the first 2 videos, we've now got another 13 people on board, and we're all spending time one-on-one with somebody that's come forward, and somebody will send us a letter, and rather than just sit and read the letter robotically, we're speaking to the person and getting to know them and how that situation made them feel, and be able to put the story across the way they want it with the information that they want. And it's been quite healing for the people we've been working with, and we're quite proud of what we've got ready to come out. The hold up, in all honesty, is me, because I need to do my video about my past first, but I've kind of been stalling on it a little bit. But I am actually recording that tonight, and it'll be getting edited over the next few days.
Well, hopefully this podcast has helped you to kind of gather your thoughts, and maybe it'll help to streamline that video that you're going to make later on this evening. You know, you do have to be careful, Rebecca Shorten. You are dealing with people that have some kind of power, and you may think that they can come at you and you have nothing that they can take away, but they can. You have a place that you're living. You have animals that you take care of, and you have a loving husband that is. But you said you were going to explain something about the animals as well. Let me tell you about those dogs and kitties that we've been watching on the video, if we're watching the YouTube version of this.
Well, You won't see him because he's black, but this cat here is Salem. He's 24 years old.
Oh, wow.
And this lovely lady here, she's 18. And this little lady here is 13 weeks, and she's a monster. But I actually rescue and look after abandoned and orphaned kittens and puppies. And that has been a way to help me to have some purpose in life, because I can't work anymore because of my MS, not properly. So that keeps me busy, but it also helps with my therapy. It gives me something to focus on. And my animals have saved me. They have. I've had this. I've had the 24-year-old since he was 8 weeks old. He was my first ever rescue cat, and this lady beside him, I've had her since she was 4 weeks old, and they've always been together as long as I've had her, and they're like a little married couple, and it's so adorable.
Well, some people are more apt to rescue animals than people. That they're worth more. They don't try to harm you. They won't fight back, or they can't fight back. So we have to fight for them, the animals, indeed. And I see this just tells a little bit more to the people about what type of person you are. Your arms are outreached. And you're not only going to help the people, but you're going to help the animals as well. And that's beautiful. Rebecca Shorten, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you and getting to know your Justice for Survivors 2021 project. Starting with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and their situation, and then opening it up, to other people that are in similar situations, and you're going to help, between you and those 8 and now 13 people on that page. And I hope that the Twitter page comes up, because I will share this on your Twitter feed, and I'll make sure that I get all the links to your social media. In fact, as we're winding this thing down, as we're landing this plane, how do people get a hold of you or your organization?
We have an email address set up, which is it's the Justice for Survivors Project 2021 project at gmail.com. That's all linked on the YouTube page, and it is linked on the Twitter, which I'll get it back up tonight, actually. So everything's linked on the Twitter. Everything on YouTube links to the Twitter, and we're currently setting up a website.
Excellent.
So there'll be plenty of ways to contact.
What kind of correspondence do you want? Do you want people to send you video messages or audio messages, or maybe stories that they've written down in email form of how they've gone through these things, or people that are going through these trials at this particular moment? You can probably steer them in the right direction. How do you want? What kind of correspondence do you want from folks?
Well, I'm actually glad you asked that, because I wouldn't have thought to have said. But we will accept it in any form that somebody's comfortable with doing. For example, one woman's come forward and she wants to share her story, but she doesn't know how to express it properly written down, so she's done it in the form of writing a song, and she wants us to play that song for her about her experience, which she has written and sang, and it's amazing. But that's how she felt that she needed her voice heard. And there's another woman who she's actually deaf, and she wants to do a video that is good for the deaf community. So she's actually going to be signing the letter in a box at the side while I'm reading the letter, so deaf viewers can read sign as well with it. And it takes on so many forms. People want to express it in poetry, in letter form, in music form. So it's just whatever people feel comfortable with, we'll work with.
Well, it sounds with all those types of people that are coming forward in all those different various forms of media, you're going to reach a larger and larger audience. And now that I've subscribed to your YouTube page, I expect to see and hear, all these different stories and the song. I look forward to hearing that song for sure coming down my YouTube feed and the different stories. I'm guessing you're going to be in front of a camera, probably reading some of those stories yourself.
Yes.
In addition to the 4 videos that are up there right now. So, I look forward to hearing more and more about you, Rebecca Shorten. It's been a complete pleasure getting to know you. If there's any shout outs you want to give, go ahead and give those shout outs now, and then we'll close this thing up.
Yeah, there's Stevie J Raw on YouTube and Twitter. Shelby Soup, who's on Twitter and YouTube as well. They covered the Johnny Depp situation, and I think she's changed her name to SEC. It was Spiritually Empowered Coaching. She's on YouTube and Twitter. They are a great team of people who are fundraising, giving emotional support, and doing a lot of investigative work into the Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation. And I'd just like to say with that situation as well, just because you've seen something in the media doesn't mean that it's correct. If you want to learn more about the situation, there is information available from credible sources like the courthouses and things like that that you can learn yourself. Don't just take somebody's word for it. Don't even just take my word for what I'm saying about Johnny. Go and do your own research and come to your own conclusions, because that's when people are figuring out and coming to the side of Johnny Depp, is when they reach these conclusions by reading the documentation themselves. So I'd encourage that as well.
Rebecca Shorten, knowledge is power. Now, you did mention a lot of YouTube channels. If you could link them to your own personal YouTube page, the Voice for Survivors 2021 project, and you can have featured channels. You can have featured channels. Hey, I'm all for it. That's, justice, and the hashtag is Justice for Survivors 2021 project. I'm sure on your other social medias you'll find that hashtag, and it'll help lead you to the right place. All right. Yes. Well, Rebecca Shorten, I always like to finish these things off with last words for the people. It could be words to live by, just something that you've heard a long time ago, or a mantra that you wake up with every morning, or it could just be whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Rebecca Shorten, last words for the people.
I'll take something from Hamilton, which is something that's helped me through all this lockdown, and it's something that is stuck in my head, and it's Aaron Burr when he says, "I am the one thing in life I can control." And I think that on its own is important, because we are the only people in control of ourselves. Nobody else can control us, and I think that should be something that we all live by.
Well, there you have it, party people. Rebecca Shorten. What a nice lady. And she cares. She cares a lot about the community and people that are getting abused, so to speak. We need to be taking care of each other, like Rebecca Shorten and her group over at the Justice for Survivors 2021 project. And look, I think there's a hashtag, and if there isn't a hashtag, I hope that they're going to start using this hashtag to kind of lead all of their different social events and social correspondence to the website and to the YouTube page and to the Twitter feed. So the only thing I have right now is the YouTube page, Justice for Survivors 2021 project, and there's a Twitter that is linked to that YouTube page. So hopefully they'll put out little information and bits of information that you're going to need if you find yourself in an abusive situation, man or woman, or however you identify with yourself. I know that there's other identifications besides male and female. The traditional man and woman that I grew up with. There's other personalities that people identify with. So I hope and I want that we can all get along together with each other. And I thank Rebecca Shorten and her team of individuals at this particular project doing what they can, on the scale that they can do. Like I said, there's over 26,000 views, and the YouTube page is only 3 weeks old. So people are interested in this subject. Primarily, it's Johnny Depp and Amber Heard to get people in the door, but hopefully they can help out more people using these platforms Justice for Survivors 2021 project. Thank you, Rebecca Shorten. All right, for being on the What Makes You Famous podcast. Now, if you, yes, I'm turning my attention to you now, if you would like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.